Mm-hmm.
Masters of the Swords.
Oh man, I have to play a kind character now. I don't have to, but that's the character I made. So now I have to not be the angry douchebag like all my other characters.
That's so weird.
Well, it's good to break out of your usual mold occasionally. Get you used to other things.
Mm-hmm.
Practiced the accent a little bit, but then I made it a girl, so this is going to sound even weirder, but I'm still going to try it.
You can try it, and if it doesn't work out, you can just use your normal voice.
Yeah, it's not a big deal.
I don't do voices. I might accidentally switch into one out of instinct, but...
Well, that's fine. I just like doing voices because it helps me. I like making jokes as the character and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, with Mishka, hello, it is me.
Yeah, I just can't.
I will rip off your arm. See, it's not the same if I just say, I'll rip off your arms. That just sounds like a blatant threat.
Right,
But when I
be
say
right
it in a cheesy Russian accent, suddenly it makes it okay.
Yeah, usually for me, when I start doing a voice, it starts transitioning into other voices. I start British, then I go Irish.
Oh, yeah. I have that problem, too. That's why you gotta have ones that you can stick with.
I can't, so it's not worth it. And a lot of voices is also getting the strange inflections of the language down. Like Irish, doing an Irish accent is easy, but it's also the reason why in Doctor Who, when they do an American accent, if you pay attention, you can start telling that they hired a British guy to do it.
It's basically, hello, yes, I am an American. How are you? Whoa there, friend.
Yeah.
They enunciate too much, and they always have to bring their voice down an octave. I can't do a British accent for the life of me. So.
And they tend to still say British-style phrases, and it starts becoming obvious. But all right. Once Daisy is back, we can get going to... Does anyone have any questions about their characters and the mechanics in the meantime?
No. I don't think I do.
I think I should be okay. I'm the magic one.
I've got that.
Somebody's the swords one.
Or two people are sword one.
Oh, 2 swords. Oh. Didn't bring my sword. Oh, I can't play anymore.
Yeah.
Well, you have an axe, so you can always say, "I have my axe."
On a sword mount.
I've got that other whatever thing on my other character sheet on my tablet right now, so I can just glance at that.
I have a bunch of weird spells, mostly for like role playing and stuff too. But they also heal, so it's kind of neat.
Yeah, most healing spells in this game boost recovery rolls. They don't generally just heal somebody.
Yeah, that's why my strongest healing spell right now rejuvenates a meal.
Oh yeah, it makes the meal taste a lot better and be healthier by warming it up, which makes healing ice cream really weird.
Isn't that what last D&D did? You just spend a weird recovery thing.
I know they have recovery dice, but I think there was still spells.
Maybe. I don't know. I've only played Shadowrun, so.
I call it ice cream soup.
I do know, like 13th Age, that version of D&D is heavily based on just spending recovery. So, if the cleric heals you, you spend a recovery.
Okay.
But you can just do it at a more convenient time.
All right.
Is generally what it amounts to. But it's similar to that. Usually,
I think they took it out of the newest version of D&D is what I was thinking.
Yeah,
but then you had it in like 4th or something.
I'm not that familiar with 4th, so that could be the way.
I'm not either, but I've listened to some real plays or whatever they call them.
Uh,
And I'm like, okay, yeah.
Alright.
Sometimes you meet a person that'll just die on the hill for 4th edition. It's really weird. Like, most people are like, yeah, it wasn't that good. But then you'll meet one person out of like a
Well, for
billion.
some people, it just really clicked with, and I have a feeling the reason they want to die on the hill
Just because they spent all that money on the books.
And a lot of people shit on 4th edition.
Yeah, they're instantly defensive.
So they're just used to defending it.
I mean,
which I don't blame them, but because
at the same time, so aggressive.
I kind of got into that point when I say I was like, oh, I'm not a big fan of Apocalypse World. I'm so used to getting immediately challenged on that that I.
Well, the thing is with role-playing games, at the very least, is they're so genuinely diverse.
Oh yeah.
Like,
so in general, if someone like my favorite game's Ars Magica.
Yeah, and that's cool.
But chances are, there's a lot of things about that game that people just don't really like much.
Like the art in the books. I don't really like the art in the Ars Magica books. It looks kind of weird to me.
Yeah, it's a lot of medieval stylish art and some very
especially those ones of like the pigmen or whatever. I'm like, what is this?
Oh yeah,
what
that one is pretty weird. But it's stuff like that, and it's just the system's the setting is very slow, and it's basically very methodical. And so I don't blame people for not liking it, but
that's always been the biggest barrier for fantasy in general, but like especially role-playing games, is getting people engaged in things that aren't Dungeons and Dragons high fantasy. Because with everything else,
Ars Magica is pretty much Wizard Sim the game.
Yeah, you have a big investment into a much more taxing setting, I would say. Taxing on the people getting into it, because it requires that you know more about the setting, more about the tone of the game. And I think that that's what D&D did best, that is difficult for other games to do, because when you have games like Ars Magica, or you have games like Earthdawn or RuneQuest, when you make games like those, and this is inherent in any role-playing system, when you have stuff like that, you are setting a tone for not only a tone, but a general mindset and an aesthetic when you set out to make games like that. It requires a lot of investment on the player's part in order to keep with that tone and with that aesthetic. Where with D&D, Dungeons and Dragons has such a basic system and such a diverse setting attached to it, that the tone and the aesthetic and the effect can basically be up entirely to the player's interpretation, and it can be as light or as heavy as they want it to be because of how light the system is itself. It's also a lot easier to get into because the game leans itself towards a higher action focus, because it is a combat focused system. It's just a general thing that whenever you're making a role-playing game, you have to keep in mind what set of rules is going to be the most conducive to the kind of setting that I want to create in the game, or the kinds of settings that I want people to create in the game. Like, if I wanted to make a gritty, down-to-earth, realistic campaign with a lot of drama and a lot of I want to make it very, very, very in-depth for the players to get themselves into the system, I wouldn't run a game like Savage Worlds, which is made very specifically for pulpy, explosive, action-focused combat, or gameplay in general, not even just combat, because of the way that the dice explode, because of the way that you build your skills, because of the way that like the whole system gears itself towards this style of play.
Did you see that Savage Worlds thing I linked?
No, which Savage Worlds?
It was on Bundle of Holding, Savage Worlds East Texas U.
So, wait, what? Excuse me?
East Texas U.
Is it just a college roleplay?
It's college Buffy-esque.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Supernatural fighting.
Okay. Yeah, see, that's the kind of thing that I would make in Savage Worlds.
Yeah.
Or that's the kind of thing that I would make powered by the Apocalypse System or 4 or something like that, Like, when you want to make something that's fast, fun, and... Well, in Savage Worlds' case, it's a lot looser on the narrative, but, like, when you want to make something like that, then... Like, whenever you make a narrative-focused game in general, you definitely want to make the system a lot lighter to accommodate for what the player characters are going to want to do.
Yeah.
Like, I would never try to run something that I would run in Savage Worlds using GURPS, because GURPS is you die super easy in GURPS. There's a lot of rolling. There's a lot of rules. It's a very rules heavy system. I would never use that to run a fun narrative focused game or anything like that. I would use that for the kind of grit that kind of game is associated with, because it was made in the 90s. So, that's why I always like chaff whenever I get very uppity with setting stuff like Naruto D20 or something like that, or just any kind of narrative or setting that has a lot of looseness to it, or tends to be very fun and has a lot of malleable rules and such like that. I would never use D&D for. I would never use the D20 system for in general, because it just doesn't fit that kind of play. I'm gonna go get my rice though, and when I get back, we can probably start. Yeah.
Probably get going.
I'll be right back.
I don't know. It's a lot of things. I mean, I'd love to play a JoJo game, but I also don't like light games. I can't think of any other way to do it.
Do a superhero game?
JoJo Bizarre Adventure.
Oh yeah, but I know what it is, but
yeah, I don't know. I mean, you could do like a superhero game, but my problem with a lot of superhero games is they're very dry because they need to be general.
I guess.
My favorite superhero game has its own specific setting.
Oh, is it that 1940s based one?
Godlike? No.
No, not Godlike. Hang on.
It is.
There was this big Google Doc that was floating around on Tumblr that was basically like, "Don't play D&D. Try these instead." And
yeah,
I checked it out out of curiosity.
But it's a Amp Eater 1, which is more like a people with powers setting.
Okay.
I'm back.
Welcome back.
I have my foods, and I'm good to go.